The first time my bodyguard touched me, it wasn't to protect me. It was to claim me. And in that moment I realized I wasn't safe from him at all. I was safe with him. I met Adrian on a Monday morning, in the lobby of a 5-star hotel in Lagos. Everyone else blended into the polished marble floor and gold chandeliers, but not him. He stood like a soldier carved from stone, tall, broad, dressed in black, his eyes scanning every corner as if danger lived in the walls. When those eyes finally landed on me, I froze. He didn't just look, he stripped. Not my body but my defenses. For the first time since my divorce, someone saw me. Mrs. Rivers. His voice was deep, steady, threaded with control. I'm Adrian. I'll be accompanying you. I wanted to answer with the grace of a woman in command, but my voice betrayed me. Claire, I corrected softly. Call me Claire. His lips twitched, almost a smile, but he didn't reply. He reached for my hand instead. His grip was firm, too firm, and lingered a moment longer than necessary. A jolt of heat shot through me, leaving my skin tingling when he finally let go. We walked side by side toward the elevators. His stride was silent, predatory, and yet reassuring. People moved out of his way without him saying a word. I felt a strange pride, as if the world had finally assigned me a shield. Not a husband who ignored me, not friends who pitied me, but a man who would take a bullet before letting anyone touch me. And yet, the truth pressed against my ribs. I wasn't afraid of bullets. I was afraid of him. Afraid of the way his presence already filled the emptiness my ex-husband left behind. Afraid of how much I wanted to feel that hand on me again. That night, alone in the hotel suite, I couldn't sleep. Every sound from the hallway, every shadow across the window, reminded me that Adrian was standing outside my door, watching, waiting, guarding. But all I could think was, who guards me from him? The next morning, I tried to shake the unease Adrian left me with. He was my bodyguard, nothing more. I reminded myself of that as I slipped into a fitted navy dress and heels, practicing the smile I'd need for the business meetings ahead. But when I stepped out of my suite, there he was, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, eyes sharp. He looked like he hadn't moved all night. You didn't sleep? I asked, half curious, half guilty. I don't sleep on duty, he replied flatly, his gaze scanning the corridor before landing back on me. You're my duty. The words struck deeper than I expected. I forced a smile. Well, I hope your duty doesn't find me too boring. His jaw flexed, as though he wanted to say something, but he only gestured for me to walk ahead. I did, heels clicking on marble. His presence looming a step behind me like a shadow stitched to my skin. At the hotel entrance, the press was waiting. Cameras flashing, questions shouted. I froze, blinded by the chaos. Before I could panic, Adrian was there. His arm wrapped firmly around my waist, pulling me against his body as he steered me through the crowd. His voice was calm, commanding. Eyes forward. Keep walking. The world blurred, but I felt everything. The heat of his palm splayed across my hip, the steady rise and fall of his chest against my shoulder, the power in his stride as though nothing and no one could touch me while he held me like that. When we finally reached the car, he guided me inside, shutting the door with a sharp slam. My breath was unsteady, my pulse racing. You'll stay close to me at all times, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. His eyes flicked to my lips for a fleeting second before he looked away. Do you understand? I swallowed hard. Yes. But the truth was, I didn't understand at all. Because right then, I couldn't tell if he was protecting me from the cameras, or staking his claim in front of them. By the third day, I had learned Adrian's rhythm. He was always there. A shadow at my side, a wall between me and the world. He never smiled, never lingered on small talk. Yet somehow, he knew me better than anyone had in years. He anticipated when I was tired before I admitted it. He shifted closer when someone's gaze lingered too long. He opened doors before I reached them. And maybe that was the problem. I had grown used to being invisible. With Adrian, invisibility wasn't an option. That evening, after hours of draining negotiations, I returned to my suite, shoulders aching. Adrian followed, as always, silent and unreadable. When I fumbled with the keycard, exhausted, it slipped from my fingers. Before it could hit the floor, his hand shot out, catching it mid-air. His fingers brushed mine as he placed it back in my palm. "You're shaking," he said quietly. His voice wasn't cold this time, it was something else. Something gentler. "I'm just tired," I whispered. Without asking, he opened the door and stepped inside first, scanning every corner of the room like a predator scenting danger. Only after he was satisfied did he turn back to me. "Safe," he murmured. I should have been annoyed. I should have reminded him that I could take care of myself. But the word safe on his lips unraveled something in me. I kicked off my heels and reached for a glass of water on the counter, but my knees buckled. Before I could fall, Adrian was there, arms strong around me, pulling me against his chest. The scent of leather and musk filled my lungs. My cheek brushed the firmness of his shirt, and for a second I forgot to breathe. "Careful," he muttered, but his grip didn't loosen. If anything, it tightened. His heartbeat thundered against my ear, steady yet fast, betraying what his stoic face refused to show. I tilted my head up, and our eyes locked. The air between us thickened. His hand lingered too long at my waist, his thumb brushing the fabric of my dress like he was memorizing it. "Adrian!" My voice cracked, half warning, half plea. His jaw clenched. For one reckless moment, I thought he might kiss me. But instead, he set me down gently on the sofa and stepped back, his walls snapping up again. "I'm here to protect you," he said, his tone clipped. But the way his eyes lingered on me said otherwise. And as he left the room, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want protection anymore. I wanted the man behind it. It was midnight when the storm rolled in. Rain pounded against the hotel windows, thunder rattling the glass. I tossed and turned, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind wouldn't stop replaying the moment Adrian held me, the steady strength of his arms, the way his heartbeat betrayed the calm mask he always wore. I gave up on sleep and padded into the sitting room, barefoot in a silk robe. The lights were dim, the air humming with the storm outside. And there he was, Adrian, sitting on the sofa, still in his suit, awake as if he never slept. "You're supposed to rest," I said softly. His eyes lifted to me, dark and unreadable. "And leave you unguarded. Never." Something about the word never made heat crawl up my neck. I crossed my arms, suddenly aware of the thin robe clinging to me. His gaze flickered over me, quick, restrained, but it was enough. Enough to tell me I wasn't the only one fighting this. I sat across from him, legs folded beneath me. The silence stretched, filled only by the thunder outside. Finally I whispered, "Do you ever get tired of being in control?" For the first time his mask cracked. His jaw tightened, his gaze locked on me, and something raw flashed in his eyes. "Yes," he admitted, voice low, almost dangerous. The air between us tightened. My pulse raced. I should have ended the conversation, but instead I leaned forward. "And what happens when you lose it?" His fists clenched, knuckles white. He looked at me like a man starved, fighting not to devour. Slowly he stood, towering over me, his shadow swallowing mine. "What happens," he said through gritted teeth, "is something I can't allow. Not while I'm responsible for your safety." But the way his eyes lingered on my lips, the way his breath hitched when I shifted closer, told a different story. For a moment, the storm outside seemed to fade. There was only us, two people balanced on the edge of a dangerous cliff. And I knew if I pushed just a little harder, Adrian would fall. The morning after the storm, I thought the tension would ease. But if anything, it grew heavier. Every time Adrian opened a door for me, every time his hand lingered at my back, I felt it, the hunger he tried so hard to bury. That night, after another round of endless meetings, I returned to my suite drained. Adrian followed as usual, scanning the hall, the corners, every shadow. But when I slipped inside, something felt wrong. The curtains stirred though the windows were shut. My skin prickled. Before I could speak, Adrian's hand shot out, pulling me behind him. "Stay back." His gun was in his grip in seconds, his body shielding mine completely. The room was silent, except for the storm outside and the thunder of my heartbeat against his back. He searched every inch of the suite, muscles taut, jaw clenched. Finally, after a long breath, he lowered the weapon. "False alarm," he muttered. But his hand was still gripping my arm, holding me against him as though letting go was impossible. "Adrian!" I whispered, my voice trembling. His eyes met mine, and in them I didn't see a bodyguard anymore. I saw a man unraveling. Before I could think, his mouth was on mine. Hard, desperate, possessive. His hands framed my face, his breath ragged against my lips. I gasped into him, the taste of rain and danger flooding me, and every wall I'd built since my divorce came crashing down. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, his breath uneven. "I can't. I shouldn't." His voice broke, low and raw. "But God help me, Claire, I can't stop." My fingers trembled as they clung to his shirt. "Then don't." And just like that, the line between protector and lover was gone. The kiss should have ended that night. We should have pretended it never happened. But the moment Adrian crossed that line, there was no going back. Days blurred into nights, and every night, the same fire pulled us together. In stolen hours behind locked hotel doors, he was no longer the stoic protector. He was a man undone, strong hands gripping my waist, lips devouring mine as though the world could end any second. "Claire!" He groaned against my neck one night, his voice rough, ragged. "You don't understand. You've ruined me." And I believed him because he had ruined me too. But the danger wasn't just in the desire. It was in the way he couldn't let me out of his sight anymore. Meetings became unbearable with him at my side. His gaze dark and possessive, daring anyone else to look at me too long. I caught whispers in hallways, colleagues questioning why my bodyguard stood so close, why his eyes followed me like a man in love, not a man on duty. One evening, as we prepared to leave for a gala, I adjusted my gown in the mirror. Adrian stood behind me, straightening his tie. Our eyes met in the reflection. "You shouldn't wear that," he muttered. "Why not?" asked, heart racing. "Because every man in that room will want you," he growled softly, stepping closer, his reflection towering over mine. "And I won't be able to stop myself." His hand brushed my bare shoulder, his touch scorching through silk. For a second, I swore he'd tear the gown off and claim me right there. But instead he pulled away, fists clenched. The gala went on. I smiled, I laughed, but every second I felt his stare on me. Hot, possessive, protective. And when the night ended, he didn't even wait until the suite door closed before his lips were on mine again, devouring me like the obsession he could no longer hide. I thought our secret was safe. Hidden in the quiet spaces between meetings, in the shadows of hotel rooms where only thunder and our breathing bore witness. But secrets have a way of leaking, and ours was no different. Started with the phone call. A distorted voice, low and taunting. "We know who protects you, Mrs. Rivers. Let's see how well he can protect himself." Adrian's jaw hardened when I played the message for him. He grabbed my phone, smashed it against the wall, and cursed under his breath. For the first time since I met him, he looked afraid. "We're leaving," he growled. "Tonight." The ride to the airport was tense. His hand never left the small of my back, his eyes scanning every shadow, every passing car. But it wasn't just danger that lingered in the air. It was guilt. Guilt for wanting me. Guilt for failing to keep the outside world away from what we had. That night in the safe house, the silence between us was unbearable. I wanted to comfort him, to remind him that what we shared wasn't a mistake. But when I reached for him, his hand caught mine, rough and trembling. "Claire," he whispered, his voice breaking. If anything happens to you because of me, I'll never forgive myself. I cupped his face, forcing his eyes to meet mine. And if I lose you, Adrian, I'll never forgive the world. The words shattered his last wall. He pulled me into him, his kiss desperate, frantic, like a man clinging to the only thing keeping him alive. Our bodies tangled, burning away fear in waves of reckless passion. But even as he held me, I felt it. The world outside was closing in, and our love wasn't a shield anymore. It was a target. The attack came at dawn. The safe house door exploded with a crash, masked men storming in with guns drawn. I froze, heart pounding, but Adrian moved like fire. In seconds I was behind him, his body shielding mine as bullets tore into the walls. "Stay down," he barked, shoving me behind the sofa. The chaos blurred. Gunfire, shouts, the heavy thud of fists against flesh. I peeked over the couch once, just once, and saw him fighting like a man possessed. Every blow, every shot was fueled by something more than duty. It was love. It was obsession. It was the refusal to lose me. When the last man fell, silence filled the room. Adrian staggered, blood dripping from a cut across his arm, his chest heaving. He looked at me, raw, wild, undone, and in that moment I knew. He would die for me, and I would kill for him. I rushed to him, my hands trembling as they touched his face. "Adrian, you're hurt." "Doesn't matter," he rasped, pulling me against him, his grip fierce, almost desperate. "I told myself I could protect you without crossing the line. I was wrong. I don't just want to protect you, Claire. I want to own every part of you, even if the whole world burns for it." Tears blurred my vision, not from fear, but from the truth of it. I had spent years being invisible, discarded, unloved. And here was a man willing to bleed, to fight, to sin, just to keep me. I pressed my lips to his, tasting salt, blood, and devotion. "Then you're mine too," I whispered against his mouth. "Completely. No more hiding." For once, his control shattered. His kiss was fierce, claiming, final. Not the kiss of a bodyguard. Not even of a lover. But of a man who had chosen obsession, and called it love. 4 days after the attack, Adrian kept me hidden away, always within reach, his hand never far from mine. He was quieter than usual, but his silence was different now. Not the silence of a bodyguard, but of a man who had let me into his soul. Still, I couldn't shake the question. Who had sent them? The answer came sooner than expected. Adrian returned one evening, his knuckles bruised, his eyes darker than I'd ever seen. He threw a folder onto the table, its contents spilling out. Surveillance photos, bank transfers, and a face I thought I'd erased from my life. My ex-husband, Daniel Rivers. The man who once vowed at our wedding altar to protect my heart, and later shattered it with betrayal. My throat went dry. It was him. He sent those men. Adrian's jaw tightened. He hired them to scare you. To scare me. But I think it was more than that. I picked up one of the papers, Daniel's signature glaring at me like a ghost. And then I remembered his last words before the divorce. "If I can't have you, no one will. You'll never be happy without me." Chill spread through me. "He doesn't want me dead," I whispered, the truth cutting deep. "He just doesn't want me loved." Adrian moved closer, his hand gripping mine. "Then he's already failed. Because I don't just love you, Claire. I'll never stop fighting for you." Tears stung my eyes, not from fear, but from the fierce certainty in his voice. Daniel could send shadows, hire men, spread his poison, but it was too late. My heart was no longer his to torment. I wrapped my arms around Adrian, burying myself in his strength. For the first time in years I felt untouchable. And as the storm raged outside once more, I whispered against his chest, "Let him watch. Let him drown in his own jealousy. Because this time, Adrian, I win."